First of all, I want to tell the Israeli government and the Israeli leaders that the moment Israel uses a nuclear warhead against any other country, including against Iran, it will be the demise of Israel as a country, as a state.
Thank you, Harris. We'll take it from there. Top of the new hour. The temperature in the Middle East is rising again after the UAE said Iran fired 4 missiles towards it this morning. And moments ago, President Trump speaking to Fox on the situation in the Strait. So we've got breaking news to top the hour for you. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Sandra Smith. Larry Kudlow is in for John Roberts and will join us here shortly. This is America Report. So let's get right to the news. And Trey Yingst, he's got that for us. Trey just spoke with President Trump moments ago. He's live from Tel Aviv for us. Hello, Trey.
Sandra, good afternoon. I spoke with President Trump for 20 minutes about the situation with Iran. He talked about Project Freedom and the U.S. efforts to guide vessels through the Strait of Hormuz, issuing a new warning to the Iranian regime, saying if the Iranians try to target U.S. ships in this area, they will be, quote, blown off the face of the earth.
Blown off the face of the earth. It's all spiritual. Amos chapter 9 verse 8, and it reads, it says, behold, the eyes of the Lord power, Yahweh Shem Yahushai, are upon the sinful kingdom, and I will destroy it from off the face of the earth. All right, that's what's getting ready to happen to Babylon. All right, it's all spiritual. Blown off the face of the earth. And I will destroy it from off the face of the earth, saving that I will not utterly destroy the house of Jacob, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right, Shalom. I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Rakah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who taught me this truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect. These are the prophetic updates. This article is from newstarget.com. It reads, it says, Putin personally oversees nuclear arsenal as Russia warns of, quote, real possibility of apocalypse, okay? So you got to measure the time, okay? 2 Ezra 9 and 1. And it reads, it says, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, okay? We're watching everything, every day. Measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest parts of the signs past, which I have told thee before, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Okay, so, you know, the spirit of destruction. Okay, the topic of the apocalypse, the end times. Okay, the writing is all over the wall, man. Okay, Mark 13 and 7, and it reads, it says, and when you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be not troubled, for such things must needs be, but the end should not be yet, right? So the end should not be yet. Like you said, it's a real possibility of the apocalypse. So it's a real possibility of this happening, and we know it to be so according to the will of the Lord. Okay, the spirit of prophecy, right?
Remember, this was a project implemented by the Americans overnight to assist the hundreds of vessels that are currently trapped in the Persian Gulf. We're talking about more than 20,000 sailors. And the president told Fox he's doing this for humanity. Some of these sailors were running out of food and supplies on these vessels due to the Iranian threats that are ongoing in this area. And again, the president saying that if U.S. ships in the region are targeted, the Iranians will be blown off the face of the earth. Now, I also asked President Trump about the possibility of negotiations with Iran succeeding. He said the Iranians are being far more malleable than they were being in the past, showing flexibility given the U.S. pressure that continues as part of the American blockade of Iranian ports. President Trump called that blockade the greatest military maneuver in history. As it relates to the combat preparations that continue across the region, President Trump understands there are two paths here. The Iranians either make a good faith deal or ultimately combat operations could resume. And President Trump told Fox News that right now they have bases all over the world. There are American preparations underway. He said they're all stocked with equipment and we can use all of that stuff and if he needs it, he will use it. But the headline here, Sandra, the president issuing a new warning to the Iranian regime if they do fire on U.S. vessels in the Persian Gulf or near the Strait of Hormuz. And today we can report, according to CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper, there were multiple attempts on American vessels and merchant ships in this region. And Cooper says that there were U.S. efforts to shoot down both missiles and drones in the Persian Gulf as these Iranian efforts to attack vessels in the region continue. Sandra?
All right. So, Trey, is it fair to say you got a sense of optimism as this continues from President Trump in that phone call?
Yeah, we got a sense of optimism as well. 2 Peter, right? 2 Peter 3:12. Looking for and hasting unto the coming of the day of power, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat, right? NLT, looking forward to the day of power and hurrying it along, right? So yeah, we're optimistic as well. What Trump is doing. Okay? Prophecy is being forwarded, man. Looking forward to the day of power and hurrying it along. On that day, he will set the heavens on fire, and the elements will melt away in the flames. Okay? Blown away, blown off the face of the earth.
Yeah, absolutely. The president is in charge here in terms of not only the negotiating table, but also the U.S. military posture across the region. You have the excellence of the U.S. Navy on display here. And the president even talked about how just 2 weeks ago, there was that vessel that tried to break through the U.S. blockade. And ultimately, American forces fired into the engine room after giving the vessel 4 separate warnings. And it stopped that vessel in its tracks. And this is a display of what will happen if the Iranians try to test the U.S. blockade. So far, it's been quite successful in stopping these vessels, specifically from Iranian ports. Remember, this is very important to note here. The United States is not trying to stop any sort of merchant vessels who are going through the Strait of Hormuz. They're actually trying to help these vessels make their way through this area.
Again, U.S. military assets in the Middle East, all right? So you got the different craft carriers, ships, okay? And Isaiah 13 comes to mind, all right? The Lord is mustering the host to the battle, the gathering of troops. Joel, the 3rd chapter, Ezekiel 38, there's more, the different militaries around the world are being gathered into this region here. Okay? Real quick. Revelation 16 and 15, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth, right? That's the spirit. Like I said earlier, we're watching everything, man. All right? That's part of measuring the time diligently in itself. Okay? Prophecy's playing out. We go back to the scriptures, all right, and we link it up. Which it confirms prophecy. It confirms the words of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Revelation, real quick, just thinking about that. And we'll go back to that. Revelation 22 and 6. Right? Revelation 22 and 6. And he said unto me, these sayings are faithful and true. And this is how we know. Right? We measure the time diligently in itself. All right? We're able to connect the world events to the scriptures, man. All right, which validates what the Lord said. Revelation 22 and 6. And he said unto me, these sayings are faithful and true. And the Lord, power Yahweh Shem Yahushai of the holy prophets, sent his angel to show unto his servants the things which must shortly be done. And he's showing us that, man. All right, by giving us access to these secrets, man, to the oracles, the understanding. Okay, prophecy. Verse 7, behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. You see how it all ties together? Right? Measuring the time diligently within itself. Seeing what's happening here. Okay, let's go back to Revelation 16:15, and it reads, it says, behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, right? Keeping the truth. maintaining the oil, man. Okay? And keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked, and they see his shame. Walking naked meaning being in sin. Okay? Because when Yahushua comes back, all right, there's gonna be many people found naked, man, because they're not clothed in the correct doctrine. Okay, so you're gonna be exposed, right? Verse 16, and he gathered them together, right? And he gathered them together. The point that I was making. All right, these militaries, these soldiers, troops, all right, in this part of the earth, the so-called Middle East, where it's all gonna go down. Right? And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew term Armageddon. All right, so which is the gathering of troops. Okay, and this is where he's gonna this is where the Lord pursuing to Zephaniah. Right, he said I was gonna gather them. Zephaniah 3 and 3 and 8. Yep, Zephaniah 3 and 8. Therefore, wait ye upon me, saith the Lord, Yahweh until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms to pour upon them my indignation, even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. See? You know, let's go back.
Despite the Iranian threats, it's the vessels that are coming from Iranian ports that are being stopped. And we're talking about a lot of oil that is currently in the Persian Gulf that now the United States has control over when and where it moves. And the president talked about this as well. The Iranians tried to put pressure on the United States and the military in the region, and their plan backfired. And ultimately, that led to President Trump controlling the Strait of Hormuz. And that is what we are seeing right now. Iranian ports are totally stopped at this moment. They cannot move vessels out through the Strait of Hormuz due to the U.S. Navy blockade. And the president now is issuing this new warning to the Iranian regime if they try to escalate in the Persian Gulf.
All right, Trey, we'll get brand new reaction to that. Trey, thank you. Joining us live from Tel Aviv. Mike Jernigan is a retared Marine colonel and a Heritage Foundation visiting fellow. Colonel, welcome to you. Get your reaction out of the gate there to President Trump and the news. A warning to Iran, if it attacks those U.S. vessels, they'll be blown off the face of the earth. Also adding that they have become much more malleable. Your thoughts on this moment?
Yeah, thanks, Sandra. I think what we're seeing is that what the president said is the actuality of the United States Navy enforcing a blockade, as opposed to the theoretically of the Iranians saying the straits are closed. You know, U.S. warships have been running up and down the straits for weeks and haven't hit any mines. The insurance companies are closing the straits. So I think what you're seeing is the IRGC is trying a last-ditch effort to do something with its little small boats, as you saw in the previous report, that 4 small boats were sunk by the United States Navy. So I think this is showing how the strength of the United States Navy is working.
Okay, so this is U.S. Central Command Admiral Brad Cooper just a short time ago on the cruise missiles going after those Navy ships and the commercial shipping.
Do you support Israel and the Jewish people?
Finish.
The cruise missiles were going after both U.S. Navy ships, but mostly after commercial shipping. We defended both ourselves, and consistent with our commitment, we defended all the commercial ships. We've had drone launches against commercial ships, all of which were defended against, consistent with our commitment. And then the small boats were all going against commercial ships, and all were sunk by Apaches and Seahawk helicopters.
Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, again, this is pretty impressive. The United States Navy has a tremendous ship defense. We have the Aegis missile defense system to get incoming missiles, and then we have the CWIS, the close-in weapon system. They call it the R2-D2 of death because it looks like the small character from the Star Wars movies with a giant machine gun that shoots 2,000 rounds a minute. And so we have enormous defenses to protect against the missiles coming into U.S. ships. And then using the helicopters, we're essentially hunting the IRGC in the terrain that they're calling their own. So we're not sending big ships to squash a little mosquito. We're sending helicopters to shoot after the IRGC that's threatening the international shipping.
Colonel, this is more from Cooper a short time ago on degrading Iran's military capability. Listen.
I'll give you just an example just from this morning. In my own experience, I've transited through the Strait of Hormuz probably 100 times in my career. You typically see between 20 and 40 small boats in a pack coming out. Today we saw 6 and eliminated them quickly. I think this is an example of the degradation of their capability. That doesn't mean it's all gone, but it's highly degraded.
You see it the same way, Colonel?
I completely agree. When I went through the Straits of Hormuz back after the Iraq War, it's a high attention area. Everybody's paying attention. I agree with the Admiral's assessment that the aggressive tactics and traffic has reduced, because even before a time of war and conflict, the Iranians were always kind of threatening all the shipping by showing a display of force. That only 6 little small boats came out. We saw them coming and we destroyed them all. The Iranians really don't have anything to say that they can close the straits with.
Got it. I'll finish off with this, Colonel. The blockade damage to the Iranian economy. Clearly, it's showing up in the numbers. I mean, you talk about $435 million. That's the estimate on the amount this is.
Yeah, so they're saying that this war is costing America $25 billion, right? Iran war cost $25 billion, Pentagon reports. You see? So that's being said too. Let's go on.
Costing them per day. The longer this goes on, it's easy to see where this is going. Final thought, Colonel?
Yeah, I think that Al Jazeera reported that the Iranian rial currency is at its lowest ever. Twice in the last 2 months, they've increased their currency denominations by 5 million and 10 million rial units of currency. And what you're seeing here is the economic arm of the military and the United States might that we're flexing the economics. And I think the economics are going to have a greater effect than the military attacks did.
Got it. Colonel, thank you very much for your time today, sir.
There you go. So, you know, there's a lot of conflicting stories, but, you know, we know based off this alone that, as we've been talking about, that, you know, this is going to, you know, drive America to being broke. I mean, it's already broke, but, you know, this is going to further hurt the economy. Okay? Because before any type of destruction takes place, all right, remember, the chip has to be pushed. All right. So again, we're talking about the apocalypse, but before the fireworks happen, okay, that chip has to come to pass. You see? So that's how we know it's close, man. That chip, we see it. Okay? The vision has been made clear. All right? Though it tarry, wait for it. It should surely come. It will not tarry. Okay? Just want to just read through this article real quick. Here's the summary here. Common context of real possibility, nuclear escalation. Analysts often use this term to describe the potential for the war in Ukraine or other conflicts to spiral into a limited nuclear exchange. It suggests that unlike rhetorical bluffing, this is a tangible non-zero probability that Russia could resort to tactical nuclear weapons if they perceive a critical threat to the state of sovereignty, all right? And we don't even need the rest. Okay, we get what's going on, man. All right? So again, hey, you got to measure the time. Okay, our salvation is nearer than we believe. Shalom.